When a parent comes to me, first question I ask is, what do they do when they get off the school bus? And they look at me like, what's that mean? I'm like, okay, does he or she go outside, play basketball, build forts and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Or are they the kind of person that goes downstairs and plays the Xbox?
Right.
And they're like, well, what do you mean?
Yeah.
I said, okay, well, if they're outside playing football, baseball, building they're usually the kind of kid that can be paving, hot topping, building houses because the cold elements don't bother them. And they're used to rough and tough. That's a good fit for them. But if they're down cellar, building Legos or something like that, they can be machinist, they can be an engineer, something like that, because they're really good at focusing on one thing or many things.
Yeah.
And they don't like being outside.
Yeah.
And it's not bad. We need them all. It's about opening up your eyes and seeing what you want. You might like this, but you might like that. That's what we're trying to tell the parents is like, let them go on the job site and see what it's like.
You're listening to Granite Goodness, the show about progress, optimism, and problem solving in and around New Hampshire. My name is Andy DeMeo, and today I'll be coming to you from Rye, New Hampshire, where I talk to Steve Turner and Shana Brunier from Bring Back the Trades, where they work to inspire a world where skilled trades are celebrated, valued, and pursued as essential and impactful careers. We talk about what happened in the trades, the big opportunities that exist in them, what Steve and Shana wish more parents understood about trade careers, meeting Mike Rowe at New Hampshire's Trade-a-Palooza event, and a bunch of other stuff on this episode of Granite Goodness. I hope you enjoy it. Shana Brunier, Steve Turner, welcome to Granite Goodness.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, excited to be here.
We're here in your beautiful new office that is delightfully under construction. Many projects to come. But I feel like it fits the ethos of your organization, and I'm glad that I got the two of you here. You know, originally I was just going to talk to you, Steve, but you said I want to bring Shana on as well. Can both of you tell me a little bit about your relationship with New Hampshire? Are you from here? You live around here, presumably. What do you like about New Hampshire? What don't you like? We always try to start there.
I'll go first. Yeah, I was raised and born in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Lived in Rye my whole life. Moved to Portsmouth in Greenland, but lived here my whole life. What do I love about Rye? I'm a runner, so I run down at the beach, run up north. So you can be in Boston in an hour, you can be up at the mountains in an hour, or you can be in Maine in an hour. So that's what I love about New England.
And do you like the people?
I love the people.
What do you love about the people?
They're friendly. They're very friendly.
Shana, what about you?
So I moved to New Hampshire in the middle of high school from the city in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So it was a big culture shock for me to come to New Hampshire. But I moved to Boston for a little while, moved out to Tucson, Arizona, and came right back. And it's been a wonderful place to raise family. And I really love it here. And I love the people. And I do think that, you know, people maybe not be like as super warm and welcoming up front, but they're real, and those relationships and those connections are wonderful.
When did you know that New Hampshire was a place that you wanted to stay and like really build a life?
Well, that's a good question. I think just looking at the school systems was really important to me, and knowing that the Northeast had really good school systems.
Sure.
And that being important, and then the cost of living overall and the opportunity for jobs just made New Hampshire a great fit. And obviously, no sales tax, no income tax, make it really a great option in the Northeast.
Well, that's actually an interesting thread that we can go down, and I want to go down in the context of, you know, your work. So let's get into that. You two are Bring Back the Trades.
Well, not just us two. This is a huge organization, but yes, we are actually the two people behind the force that really make it work. But we can't forget about, you know, how it started with the community effort. Yeah.
So when I hear the phrase "bring back the trades," like, where did they go? Why is it called that? What happened?
So, you know, it's funny because I still tell this story. I woke up in August of 2017 with this thing in my head, bring back the trades. Mm-hmm. Still to this point, don't know why I woke up with it, but I did, and how the story...
a rare illness, perhaps.
Yeah, well, if you know me, I don't sleep much, so I'm a kind of a person that wakes up at all times of day, that night, and just writes things down. But anyways, so I woke up August 17th of 2017 with an idea to bring back the trades. And one of my friends I have a custom upholstery shop, and we do embroidery and stuff like that into our seats. So I called him and I said, hey, make me up a hat that says bring back the trades.
Yeah.
And he said, why? I said, just do it. He goes, what do you want for a logo on it? I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, you got to put some kind of logo on it.
Yeah.
I said, surprise me. So a week later, I go by, pick up the hat, has a wrench and a hammer on it. I'm wearing it in my shop, maybe a week later, and Joe Tucker, which is a good friend of mine, builds custom houses, came by to pick up his car up, and he says, where'd you get that hat? I said, I made it. He goes, I need 12 of them. I said, why?
Yeah.
He goes, I've been talking about this forever. I build houses. I can't find kids. Get me 12 of them.
Yeah.
So got him 12, and a week later, his electrician comes by. He says, saw Joe's hat. Can you take out the hammer and the wrench and put in an electrical emblem?
Yeah.
So I can do that. But why? He goes, I just want the same hat. I've been talking about the same thing. Fast forward it, I've got 47 different hats. I'm selling them on Facebook. I create a Facebook page. I'm selling them. I'm putting a map, and we got them all over the place. Create a checking account that says bring back the trades.
Yeah.
A friend of mine comes by and says, he's an old timer. He goes, what are you doing with the money? I said, what do you mean? He goes, what are you doing with all the money that you're raising for the hats?
Yeah.
I said, nothing. I'm just putting it in the bank. I haven't figured that out yet. He goes,
Yeah.
got an idea for you. My father just passed away, and my mother gave me some money, and, I don't really need it. I'm going to go over to the Portsmouth High School, which is where we both graduated.
Yeah.
I'm going to start a scholarship fund. Why don't you take all the money from the hats and create a scholarship fund? So that's how it all started.
Yeah.
And when I talk about the grassroots,
Right.
it was because I came up with the idea, but this would never be where it is today without every single person helping me away.
If someone had said, "Oh, the organization Bring Back the Trades," I would not have guessed that it started as a hat business,
No.
as a haberdashery,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing, how much. I mean, I was just telling Shana, we got a check from San Francisco this morning.
Wow.
From across the. I mean, we get checks from everywhere because everybody is passionate about bringing back the trades.
Yeah. And I
Yep.
love that it came to you in a dream. Like, this is a thing that you feel like you've tapped into.
Yeah.
Right? That, you put it into words, you put it into an image, and that these people that you interact with, right?
Yep.
Through work, right? Through trades work or just socially, they say, wait, you're expressing how I feel.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's
Yeah.
bring it back.
Yeah. And another story too is like, if you see the logo there, I had that made across. I don't know what country did it for us.
Yeah.
For me, I just put it out there, but they kept sending me back logos, and I said, I want a female on my logo.
Yeah.
Which you can see right there. I
Yeah,
said,
yeah.
it's very important that we
Right.
get the females back into the trades again.
Right.
So that's why it resonates. A lot of people say, well, that looks like a Mercedes emblem. I'm like, that just happened to be that way. But I mean,
Yeah.
it's very, it was important to have the female population, involved in this.
Yeah. So how did the two of you meet?
I'll let you tell that story.
Tell me that story.
Sure. So I was working at a company, and there were a lot of people who had a lot of good plumbing skills, but they weren't licensed plumbers. And so I started to look into how would I create a path for them to help them become licensed plumbers, and reached out to Steve and said, I saw they had the scholarships, and is this something that you partner with businesses for? Like, how does that work? And then I ended up leaving that company, and I knew he had the big Mike Rowe event coming up, and I said, hey, I'm happy to help out and volunteer, and ended up spending quite a lot of time on that event to help make it happen. So it was very grassroots.
No, the truth is she did such a good job, and our personalities work well together, that the day it ended, I said, I need to talk to you on Monday. She's like, what did I do wrong? I'm like, nothing. I'm hiring you.
Right. Yeah. This seems like a very the dysfunctional relationship already. In the time I've been here, I don't know how you two get anything done. You're at each other's throats constantly. It's the worst interview I've ever had. But yeah, well, so I learned about your org, kind of like by accident. I think I came across the Instagram page or something, and then I saw that there was this big event coming up, like a trade-a-palooza or something, right?
Yep.
And you got Mike Rowe to show up, everyone loves Mike Rowe. Like, tell me that whole story.
So I'll tell how it started, and she's the numbers person. But
Yeah.
Amanda Grapponi, which owns Grapponi Auto Group in is it Concord, right? She's been a sponsor of Bring Back the Trades for about 3 years.
Yeah.
And she instant messaged me on LinkedIn. Said, "Hey, I have the opportunity to bring Mike Rowe to my event. I'm turning 100 years old on November 15th. But I know you have these skilled trades event. I'd like to bring him here for that, and then for mine at night and yours during the day." And I said, "Absolutely." She goes, "Well, there's one thing. He costs a lot of money." I said, "So?"
Yeah.
So we started planning it, and then Tracy Pouncin, which is the marketing agent for Procon, got involved. So it was pretty much the three of us, and we just went working really hard and just made it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how was that your first event for Bring Back the Trades?
No.
Yeah.
No. So back 2 years ago, Ben's Auto Body was my very first donation there in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And I was at a car show with him, and he's kind of guy who razzes me all the time. "Steve, I gave you all this money. You're not helping me. I need somebody to work for me."
You describe a lot of people this way. Everyone's always razzing you.
So I said, "I'm doing my best." And he goes, "I just wish that people could look at the body business as not so dirty and dingy.
Yeah.
I wish they could come to my shop, look at my floors. You can eat off of them. They just look at my shop as dirty."
Right.
I said, I just need that's a good idea. Maybe I should have an event to show, what you do.
Right.
But I need a place. He goes, "Use my parking lot." Drove right to his parking lot. 30 days later, I had an event with 500 people and 30 vendors.
No kidding.
And it was a huge success.
Wow.
Huge. So that was 5 of the 5 small ones. We had 2 at Ben's, 1 at Great Bay Community College, and 2 at Seco School of Technology in Exeter. But this one was on steroids.
Wow. There's this conversation in our culture. There's all this pressure to go to college, to get kind of a white collar job. And, certainly when I was growing up, I'll tell you my story. There was never, I don't think it was ever presented as an option for me to be like, "Oh yeah, you could go become a carpenter, become an electrician." And my mom's going to listen to this and she's going to be like, "No, I tried to give you all the options you wanted and you did, Mom." But I just mean, like, in high school, I don't know. It really was that way. And I feel so differently now. Like, the kids who went and kind of did those jobs, like, you kind of look down on them, like, "Oh, is this really the best you can do? Is this like the best of your potential?" And like, boy, was that the wrong. It's hard work. It's much needed work. It's I feel like it's well compensated work.
Yep.
It's extraordinarily difficult and like important. And like, I feel like we all lose when we, bring a stigma or an inaccuracy to like the way we look at the trades. But tell me, what do you think about all that?
You want to talk about the parents?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I think that one of the things that Steve has realized through this journey is that it really is about educating the parents. The students are pretty open to looking at different options, and they might like to work outside, play outside, tinker with things. But if the parents aren't educating them about the different journey possibilities and that there is money available in the trades and that you can have a lucrative, viable career there, then the kids are not going to consider it because, believe it or not, teenagers do listen to their parents.
Right.
And like you said, it's like unless the parents are really communicating that. Like, I have 2 teenagers, one's in college right now, and the other one is not sure what he wants to do. And so it's important to make sure that they realize, you can do college, but you can also take other paths that might be better suited for you, depending on what their skill sets and interests are.
Right. Or even the opportunities available.
Yes.
Right? I mean, I could tell you, I know that this is borne out in statistics, and there's all these facts of like, for every 5 tradespeople that retire, however many.
There's only 2
who
coming
goes
in.
Right. It's crazy.
Yes.
And you can feel it. Again, I live up north in Tamworth, and, it's great for them, but like the tradespeople, they act with impunity, like they have so much work, everyone wants a piece of them. I was only just able to get a plumber to my house, this wonderful man named Bubba, who is like a genius. I was like, "Can we put another shower and do this?" And he was like, "We can do anything you want." But my electrician, this great guy named Dave, he told me that he has a hard time like finding apprentices. He's like, "I would love to have a kid or a teenager who's interested in this stuff, like come along with me to jobs, and he's like, I just can't, I don't remember if it might have been because of like some rules.
It's rules,
yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
So, apprenticeships, I'm not professional on them because I'm not one of them, I'm not in it, but I do know that, a journeyman can only have too many, like two, depending on what state you're in, you can only have so many apprentices under you.
Yeah.
And as a company, you can only have so many apprentices for how many journeymen you have. So there's a lot of rules to that. So it kind of ties the business owner to the growth of their company because of the rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure there was a positive intention behind those rules in the first place.
Yeah, safety.
Perhaps, right?
Safety.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always because if you don't have somebody overlooking somebody that's sweating pipes and they catch the house on fire.
Yeah.
It's all about safety.
But
Yeah.
you feel like that's a real constraint now on like people training and joining.
It is, and what they're doing, like I just had a Zoom, well, it wasn't just, 6 months ago, where is it? It's Nevada. They're changing the rules now. So what they're doing now is the bigger companies, they took all the rules away.
Yeah.
So you can now have as many apprenticeships as you want, but you have to have like a bond insurance policy on your company.
Right.
It protects the company if they have too many apprenticeships and they burn the place down.
Yeah.
But they're trying to open it up to say, okay, we'll give you more people now, but we have to be covered financially in case there's a problem.
Yeah.
So they are changing the laws.
And New Hampshire's done some things in the plumbing area as well, where they allow apprentices to test out of year one if they have enough experience
Sure.
doing similar type work. So I think New Hampshire has tried to do some things like that, and
Yeah.
I think we just need to continue to look at that
Yeah.
and see what do we need to do to help enable people to be successful in that area, in
Yeah.
the trades.
Yeah. And the good thing is I had dinner with Kelly Ayotte.
Oh, right on.
With Mike Rowe that night. So she's agreed to sit down with Bring Back the Trades and figure it out. So we'll be part of that
That's awesome.
process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a nice thing. We talked a little bit before. He said, he was a very authentic guy. He, genuinely seems to care, and he engaged with people and went behind him at the cooks. And that's cool that he was able to leverage, some of his like VIP level to say, hey, we can get you an audience with, the incoming governor and see, can we move this issue? Can we work on it?
And he also put us on his Facebook page and his website.
Wow. That's Bring Back the Trades.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like you're doing it.
We are doing it.
Yeah.
Doing it. I mean,
Your best.
the event had over 4,500 people attend.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it
Where
was
do you even
huge.
put 4,500 people?
Yeah, New Hampshire Technical Institute.
Wow.
Thankfully was our host. And yeah, it was huge. There were 75 schools that came, and that's a big commitment for the schools to get the transportation, lots of buses, lots
Yeah.
of coordinating logistics, and 85 sponsors. So it was a big event, and the energy was just absolutely amazing. I mean, I don't know how often you're around teenagers, but it's not always the case where you can get them engaged and excited,
Yeah.
but they really, really were. And there were a lot of parents that showed up, which again, going back to the importance of the parents, and that was just phenomenal. The sponsors, the companies were really happy because they were talking to parents and saying, hey, yeah, we can help you get your kid a job or to learn more about this trade. And that's where it was really exciting to facilitate those discussions.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing that I see, we've created we've created the monster.
Right.
Because it's like, to me, it's like, because, a lot of the parents now that we're opening the gates to, knowledge for them, the thing they're like, well, where do we go now?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You said bring back the trades, and you're saying, but like, how do we get there?
Yeah.
So that's what our next goal is now, is like give the parents across the country an avenue, how to get there.
Right.
Because it's not easy. Becoming a tradesperson isn't just like you go get a job and you build a house.
Right.
It's not that way. I mean, I'm an upholsterer. I've been doing it for 40-something years, whatever it is, and I learn something new every day.
Right.
So, kids, they come in, they need mentors. It's a lot. It's not a simple fix.
The young person to labor force model, right, is like, all right, you graduate high school, hopefully, right? We want everyone to do that. And then, you specialize in either higher ed or a technical institution or you apprentice or something. And then you find your line of work, right? But for the trades, it's not a direct path at all.
No.
And there isn't, like, what's missing in your view from that conversation with parents? What do you wish that they all knew?
The biggest thing is, like, we have a couple girls coming, I think, next week. They don't know where they want to be.
Yeah.
They're like, well, the girl's coming next week. She's like, I work on my car, I do electrical, I do all this, but I don't know what I want to do.
Yeah.
She likes them all, but she's like, this is a commitment. Like college, you go there, you pick something, and
Yeah.
then 4 years later, you're not doing it.
Right. Yeah. 100%.
I mean, I have 3 siblings that went to school. They're and for 4 years, and they're not doing it. Their trade.
most of my friends are in the same boat.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's hard to find out what the true passion is of somebody without really knowing what they want to do.
Yeah.
And you want to give them the right information, but
Yeah, when you're in college, you can explore different classes. You can take a class in this and take a class in that. And the trades, how do you do that?
Yeah.
You have to have that network to be able to go and talk to somebody and understand what the daily job is like. I really like some of the questions that you ask of parents when they ask you, like, what trade should my kid goes in? Do you mind sharing?
No, I
those?
want you.
You want me to say? Well,
you want me to say it?
Yes,
Okay. So,
yes.
Okay. So when a parent comes to me, first question I ask is, what do they do when they get off the school bus? Mm-hmm. And they look at me like, what's that mean? I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, does he or she, like us,
Right.
go outside, play basketball, build forts and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Or are they the kind of person that goes downstairs and plays the Xbox?
Right.
And they're like, well, what do you mean?
Yeah.
I said, okay, well, if they're outside playing football, baseball, building A, they're usually the kind of kid that can be paving,
Right.
hot topping, building houses because the cold elements don't bother them.
Yeah.
And they're used to rough and tough.
Right.
That's a good fit for them. But if they're down cellar building Legos or something like that,
Right.
they could be machinist, they can be an engineer,
Yeah.
something like that, because they're really good at focusing on one thing or many
Right.
things,
Yeah.
and they don't like being outside.
Yeah.
And it's not bad. We need them all.
Right.
But you got to figure out, and I also tell parents, like, we have a couple of people on our board that, are construction workers and machinists, and I've had kids that say, I want to do this. Well, let's go up there and see what you do.
Yeah.
Like, there's this one kid that was, it comes to mind, he took construction at Portsmouth High School. And he says, I think I want to do that. I said, well, let's go to Jason Poole is one of my one of my board members. He does construction. I said, spend the week with him because there's plumbing, there's
Right.
electrical, there's masonry, there's all these things. 2 weeks later, I said, hey, Jason, how's he working out? Well, you know what? I think he's going to do electrical. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
He goes, I think that's what he wants. So it's about opening up your eyes and seeing what you want. You might like this, but you might like that.
Right.
So that's what we try and tell the parents is, like, let them go on the job site and see what it's like.
Yeah.
And just try it,
Yeah.
Just
expose them.
expose them.
I like that line of thinking a lot. From day one, if you're there in college, they should be teaching anything you're interested in doing. Go out and talk to someone. Just go and talk to someone who's doing it right now. You could do it, set a Moz goal, one person a week, and do it every week for your entire 4 years. Mm-hmm. You have 200 people by the end of it, right? But even in that area, right, like the more, white collar, like desk jobs, like there's still this fundamental difference, I feel like, between that and the trades. And it's like really doing something with your hands that's like tangible. You built it, you wired an electrical
Yep.
thing, or you built a brick wall or a house or something. And there's a difference, like when you can go out to the job site, as you say, and really like touch and feel the thing.
Yep.
It's different than like software or something.
Yep.
I feel like it's easier. I don't know. If I think you'd have an easier time, and I feel like I've gotten the sense talking to you, trying to get a 16-year-old kid excited about that. Of
yeah.
Hey, you can build a house. Like, you actually can figure out how to do it, and we'll teach you. And like, you can join a team and do that, as opposed to like, you can design some really interesting stuff in Excel and create some shareholder value or whatever, And I mean, I'm being silly, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's real.
Oh, yeah.
It matters that it's real.
Well, it's funny. As you're talking, I'm thinking about the very first day we met, because you talk about bring back the trades and helping people find solving the problems. The first thing that she asked me was, what do you need help with the most? And I said, I don't know how to get from here to there.
Yeah.
And she's like, what? I'm like, I've built this. You remember this?
Yes, I
And
do,
I said,
yeah.
I need help because I can't get from where I am right now to where I want to be.
Right.
Because I don't have the knowledge. And she's the knowledge, because she does all of the stuff that I have in my brain that I physically don't have the knowledge for.
Right.
So what I'm saying is, she's doing for me what I need to help kids do. She's helping
Right.
me with solve the problem that I have. So I'm trying to help the people find their problem or solve their problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, you're talking about college. It's nice to have, it's good for people who've gone to college to also realize the value in the trades because it's not too late, to go and be in a trade themselves, but it's also, if you have a tradesperson, you have a plumber, you have anybody working construction or a number of trades, you need back office people. You need HR. You need accounting. Those are important parts to also support the trades.
Yeah, because we tell the parents, when she says that, I'm like, when I say this, and I got to really, really think about when I say it. It's not just the hammer on a trade.
Yeah.
So I don't want the parents, when I'm talking to them, thinking, well, what do they want to do? They want to go to the job site because it's not about the nail that goes into the building. How'd that nail get there?
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's inventory management. There's so many different roles that are involved in the trades.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sheena, what do you think some of Steve's strengths are?
He is the idea man.
Yeah.
He's very passionate. He's got a ton of ideas. He's got a pretty clear vision on where he ultimately wants to go. And he's got so many relationships from being in this area for so long. And everybody believes in his vision for where Bring Back the Trades is going. And I think you have all those and you really just have like an excellent foundation on which to build. So when he talks about me, I came in and basically just put what he says he wants to do to paper and put some structure around it. So it made it a lot easier for me to come up with that strategic roadmap for the next year. Like, what are we doing? How are we doing it? And what are our goals?
Yeah. When he said, I want you to come, work with me, like for real on this, how did that feel? Like, why are you here? Why'd you say yes? Why'd you want to join?
I have a lot of respect for the trades, and a lot of it's probably because I can't do the stuff myself.
Sure.
My mom is yes, I know. Well, it's not something I enjoy doing. My mom will be out there like swinging a hammer, digging a trench, doing all this stuff. Good for her. That's great.
Yeah.
It's just not my thing. Like, I'm like, well, I could rake all those leaves or I could pay somebody else to do it.
And we need that.
And I need that,
Right.
exactly,
need that.
because I want to spend the time playing with that spreadsheet. Like,
Right.
that's more fun to me. And I'm energetic and passionate about this because I really think that it's going to get harder and harder to find that plumber, right?
Yeah.
You think it's hard now? When we're looking at that, they're calling it the silver tsunami, the tradespeople are retiring. It's going to get even harder. And I think that we're at a tipping point right now where people really need to see this opportunity and we need to do something about it now.
Yeah. This is your very good Granite Goodness material. No, I mean, it's an incredibly important problem, to be working on, right? Like, people talk often about, the labor force and, where the shortages exist and, what skills are in need. If you want to talk about a line of work that is going to be quite resistant to automation, like, I don't know what the robots are doing now, but it feels pretty hard to imagine right now that like a robot could come into your house and like just do all the stuff that Bubba comes and does in mine, right? Like, maybe someday, and that'd be cool, right? I'm sure there's all these ways that tech can complement and support the work of the trades, and I'm sure it does already, but these jobs are not going anywhere anytime soon, and
robots will make them easier, and more efficient and safer, but that's about it.
Yeah.
And the scheduling, the scheduling could get pretty complex for a lot of these trades companies because they've got so many different technicians out in the field and they need it to be as efficient as possible. So there's software that helps with that. And then obviously you have to have a dispatcher who's another person supporting the trade. So, there's definitely some technology components there where you get those notifications that somebody's on their way to your house.
Right.
That's all technology. The technician's putting in notes so that way if a future technician has to come, they can know exactly what happened at your home the previous visit.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to it, I think, beyond just swinging that hammer that people don't realize.
Right. Well, there's this, again, I think it comes from this, I don't know that it was ever accurate, but it's certainly outdated now, or rather that it was ever accurate. That's what I mean. That tradespeople are not smart enough to hack it at college, right? Like, I think that's where it comes, this idea that, a college education is like, that's the ticket to success, to status. And I think it probably was that in many ways, for like my mom's generation. She's, 60. She's going to kill me. No, she's 68. She's in her late 60s. I know how she is. She was born in 1958. And
now everybody knows her age.
She doesn't care. But like, it's changed, and you have this weird inversion of, values and opportunities. Like, again, my brother's a software engineer, and I work certainly more on like the tech stuff in my day job, and all the time we're talking about like, why don't I know how to do this stuff? I wish I did. Like I would kill to know. Even my whole life, even like we moved very intentionally to a small farm in Tamworth, New Hampshire, because we love being outside. We love the endless project management that comes with homesteading, and you take care of the chickens, you have to fix stuff up. Like I really like that lifestyle, and my wife is a lot. I'm in your boat, Shayna. Like she's the handy one, and she's figures out how to fix our dishwasher, our truck,
I love
all
it.
these
That's
things.
great.
Yeah. And so she would be all about, and she's even considered this, right, as like a second career of like, maybe I should just go and study being an electrician, like it's worth thinking about for everyone at a crossroads,
Yeah, and I think, you kind of made a good point. It's not a consolation prize to be in the trades.
No.
And
Right.
if you are smart and you're in the trades, you are going to have such a path to success,
Yeah.
because anybody who's hardworking, and everybody's smart in different ways too.
Right.
Like the company I was at before, Bring Back the Trades, I remember one of the technicians saying to me, "Oh, I'm just a dumb tech." And that made me so angry. I was
Yeah.
like, you are not dumb.
Right.
You are smart in different ways. You can do things that I can't do.
Yeah.
Just because I have, the textbook education does not mean that I'm smarter than you, because you can do way different things than I can. And everybody's brain works differently.
Yeah.
It's funny. I have my sister-in-law is guidance counselor at Portsmouth High School. That's where I graduated.
Yeah.
So she gave me my transcripts, and I'm telling you, you have to see them. So my future daughter-in-law was over this past weekend, and
Yeah.
she was like congratulating me on everything and like boosting my ego. And I said, I think it's time. And I love it because I'm so proud of it, because I was the worst student.
Sure.
Like awful.
Yeah.
Like I shouldn't even graduated.
Yeah.
But from that to this, it's like you can do it if you want.
Right.
And my problem was I just couldn't focus long enough to get the grades.
Yeah.
So I said, and you can laugh, because she's very quiet. I'm like,
Yeah.
and you can laugh when you look at these. Don't feel
Right.
like it's going to make me feel bad, because I think it's a joke.
Yeah.
She's like, I could see her eyes lighting up. She's like, oh my God, you didn't even show up to school.
Right.
I'm like, but I showed it to her, because I'm like, just because I was that doesn't mean I can't be this.
Right.
And that's why I tell kids, if you have a learning disability, which I had,
Right.
and I still do today,
Yeah.
that you can still be great for society and be an honorable person.
Right.
Just because you can't learn out of a book. I mean, I can put anything together without the directions. I can look at the box, take thousands of pieces out,
Right.
but the person that can read the book and do software can't do it.
Yeah.
We all have our strengths.
Right.
And I'm out there to show the girls and the guys that just because you're not the best student doesn't mean you're not the best person.
Right. Yeah.
I think having somebody believe in you too.
Yeah.
Like you have so many people who are behind you and believe in you, and I
Yeah.
think that's so critically important. I mean, that's one of the reasons we want to do a mentorship program.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, in the
I want to
future-
talk about that because, so we just took on Milwaukee for a sponsor, and they're building a new website. But what we're going to have on there is, which is really important. Like I have a girl that I'm teaching at my upholstery shop, and I really enjoy working with her. She's young, very friendly.
Yeah.
But it's important that the mentors that are mentoring these kids are the right people.
Yeah.
Not the old timers that why can't you learn this? And just
Right.
talking down to them. Because you got to remember that not everybody learns as quick as everybody else.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a drop-down menu that no matter what state you're in, you can find a schooling, our scholarships, and then you can get a mentor there too. But we want to make sure the mentors are right, because
Yeah.
who you learn from, it's a personality. You want to get along with them.
Right.
You got to be nurtured,
Yeah.
because the trades are really hard,
Yeah.
especially in today with all the technology and the rules.
Right.
You have to be like soft with them. You have to raise them up, even if
Right.
if they're doing something you're like, wow, this is the 5th time.
Yeah.
You can't say it like that, because
Yeah.
you're gonna break them down.
Sure.
So the mentorship is really important.
I really liked how one of the things that you had said was that the mentors have to remember what it was like on their first day
Yeah.
when they knew nothing.
How scared they were.
Right, because the people today, when they're so experienced, they don't realize how much they know and how much
Yeah.
is in their heads from their experience.
It feels obvious to them.
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Man. Yeah. No, I think that's a good way to think about it. And that's just one of the things I was going to ask you is if either of you have had, how did you learn upholstering? Like, how did you How did the kid who never showed up to school end up
So
doing all this?
this is the biggest story. So I was working at Shaw's. I was a freshman in high school, and I tried to quit. And my mother's like, "You're not quitting. I'm the youngest of four,
Yeah.
and they all graduated college." And she's like, "You're not quitting." So luckily, it was my freshman year. I found auto body, but I couldn't take it till sophomore year. So I'm like, I stayed in. So for sophomore year, I took auto body, and was training. I really liked it. I was going to start, painting cars, stuff like that. And there was a little card on the wall that said cleaning floors at upholstery shop. I'm like, that's better. That's around cars, and it's not groceries.
Yeah.
So I went there, and I was the kind of kid that, I want to learn. I was cleaning the bathrooms. I was going to Ace Hardware, doing all that. And I'm like, I want to sew. He's like, well, you're not sewing on the stuff we have, but if you want to stay at night, you can work on your own cars.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I just started working on my own cars, and then 88 started dropping down as far as the economy. And then December of 89, I started my own company 35 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. And it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
I remember I started with $3,000, which was a lot of money.
Yeah.
Within a week, I was out of money. Yep. But I'm the kind of person that just makes things work.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm a scrapper.
you must be quite the upholsterer.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
after 40-something years, you should be good.
Yeah. Man. And you said, like, tell me about your relationship with the trades too, Shayna. Like you said, your mom's the handy one. Like, I'm like, I feel like people always have these family stories, of like who's the handy one, who's
true.
not.
Yeah, so my dad actually dropped out of college, and
Really?
yeah, and my mom has her PhD, so very different educational backgrounds.
Yeah.
My mother's one of three, and her two brothers are in the trades. But my mother was very education, because I think it gave her an out, to have that financial freedom and success, especially as a woman. It was harder back in her day. So I think I had a lot of strong relationships there. And then I actually went to UNH, and I was on academic probation.
Right on.
And I had a professor there who was like, "What are you doing?
Yeah.
You belong here. You can do this work. Like, why are you acting like you can't?" And it just woke me up. And
Mentorship.
Yeah.
it was.
There you go.
It was that mentorship there. And then, I've worked in a couple different companies for about 10 years. And when I look back at my career, it's not the, campaigns or strategic initiatives or whatever that I created that I'm most proud of. I'm most proud of the people that I mentored, and I see way more successful than I would have expected for myself,
Right.
to be. And they're way beyond me and their skill sets, and it's really exciting to see. So I think that's probably what makes me so drawn to bring back the trades, because it's not just about the trades, it's also about mentorship and believing in others. And I think oftentimes in the trades, you have people who come from a hard upbringing, right?
Yeah.
They don't necessarily have that mentorship or that support or somebody saying, "You can do this. You
Right.
are very smart." And they need to hear that. They need to know what they're good at, because everybody's good at something.
Yeah. I feel like a moron when I don't know how to, like, I'm thinking of the story you told about, the guy who's like, "I'm just a dumb tech." I'm like, I don't know how to do any of that stuff. Something I kind of wanted to dig into a little too, right, is like this idea that people either are capable in like the physical trades way or like they're not, right? Because I can tell you, I like figuring stuff out. I like when I'm able to accomplish something or do it with my hands. It's a lot harder for me than it is for, my wife. She she just has a knack for it, right? But
You
like,
do, yeah.
but I still find it satisfying. Maybe I'm leading this question too much, but what's your vision and what do you think everyone can learn from the trades, I guess?
I'm so heavily involved. I think you should take that.
Well,
one.
yeah, I was just going to say, I think the variety of options, and you can support the trades even if you're not necessarily doing them yourself, as long
Right.
as you're respecting the work that's done
Yeah.
in the trades. Like you respect the work that your wife could do, and
Yeah.
that it is easier for her, and that's
Yeah.
okay.
Right.
Especially as that whole, traditional male-female dynamic can be sometimes. Like it's
Oh, yeah.
okay for the woman to be better at something
Yeah.
that's,
For sure.
historically is
That's
something
great
that
for
a
me.
man-
Yeah, I think it's great.
Wonderful.
Right, it's true. I mean, I have two brothers, and they're both very mechanically inclined, and just always were tinkering on cars and all that. And one went the more academic route than the other, but they're both very successful, which is awesome to see. You
Yeah.
know, and
And it's funny because I'm always thinking while people are, I was the worst student. I couldn't read or write.
Yeah.
And like my wife said the other day, did you write that post? I'm like, yes. She goes, wow, your spelling and everything, and it's getting so much better. I'm like, so from the trades, from this, I'm actually learning how to type. And I mean,
Right.
I don't do, so it's amazing how you can learn from other things other than just your trade. I mean,
Yeah.
now I'm learning how to write and read,
Right.
Yeah.
Or
There's
maybe
still hope for me.
Yeah.
And he does not forget anything. I'm like, how did you remember that? And I'm like, I wrote it down like 5 times and I still didn't remember.
I have a good memory. Sometimes it's not so good to have a good memory, but
Right. Yeah, you're like, oh, I wish I could forget.
yeah, exactly.
Well, you have to pull on your strengths, I think is the point.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you really good at? And just be so darn good at that the other things that maybe you're not as good at don't matter as
Right.
much.
And learn, the biggest thing I've learned from Bring Back the Trades, as it grows, let other people do the job and you do your job.
Sure.
And don't micromanage them.
Yeah.
And just let them do their job because they'll make you more successful.
Yeah.
And that was hard for me because when I first, I did everything myself. Sure, my wife would help me, but I'm a very like my business. I ran it for 17 years, so my whole life I've been doing everything myself.
Yeah.
And I got to learn to, and I have a trait of when people say they're going to do something, please do it.
Right. Yeah.
It gets on me that like, please do it.
Yeah.
So it's my biggest thing is like let them lead. They always say if you want to be successful, hire people that are smarter than you.
Right.
And I believe it 100%.
Yeah.
I think finding people that have complementary skill sets too
Mm-hmm.
is always important in any leadership role. That somebody who can support you. I've always surrounded myself with people who are more analytical because I'm not as analytical.
Yeah.
I think it's really important to know what your strengths are and your weaknesses are, so you can to have those people around you that can support you where you're weaker, and then you have your own strengths.
Yeah.
And I know what my weaknesses are.
Yeah. I like that story you told about, getting better at diction and spelling and all that, right? Because maybe no one had ever made a really good argument to you or helped you understand, this is why being able to communicate in the written word, it matters, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
now you're at a point where it's like, oh, I'm doing this thing and I really want people to know about it. And I want them to understand I need to write this paragraph in a compelling way. So people see it and they respect what I'm doing and they get it, right? It's like something about you feeling the need to do that now versus the failure to get Kid U to understand that is really interesting to me, right?
There's incentive for it now. Before it's just checking a box, getting it done.
Right.
But now
Yeah.
there's a reason, there's a purpose. It's behind your passion.
Well, it's the inverse of what I think people's relationship to handy skills is,
Yeah.
right? I was definitely one of those Xbox kids, and I kind of wish, if my stepdad listens to this, which he probably won't, I probably should have come and helped you with more stuff because he's the really handy one in my family. But I don't know. Now I wish I wish I had done all these projects and spent more time outside and done all that stuff.
You wish you're still young.
Yeah, no, I know. Well, I do it now. I do it now, and
Yeah.
my wife teaches me, and
Yep.
we learn together. But
But it's true though. My son loves to play video games.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I had to change the water pressure was low, so I'm like, oh, I got to change the filter on the water. Thing down the
Yeah, the
basement, the
water-
equiment down the
the
basement.
thing,
And I
it's
thought
the same
that
thing.
big blue that has the water filter.
Yeah.
I know. I
Drink from
there's
it.
instructions. I can do that. So I'm like, do you want to see how that works? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, cool. Sometimes it's just asking, do
Yeah.
you want to see it? I'm like,
Right.
sweet, I can teach him something.
yeah. Well, I feel like people, everyone wants to feel useful
Yes.
in
Yes.
some way, right?
Well,
true.
can I tell a story about
Yeah,
that?
of
Okay,
course.
so when I first started this, we were going around with our board members to schools, and we were doing little mini events.
Yeah.
So we went over to the Portsmouth, don't quote me, but I think it was the New Heights School. It was for the kids that got kicked out of high school and middle school.
Yeah.
They all went there. And I remember going over there with 4 of my board members. One was masonry, one was construction. I brought my sewing table over there, and we all did little things for the kids to come in. And I remember the principal going, "This one's going to be tough on you." And I said, "Why?" She goes, "This is a rough crowd.
Yeah.
They're not going to look at you. They're going to be disrespectful, and it's going to be a tough day." I said, give it to me."
Yeah.
I'm telling you, 100% opposite.
Wow.
There was this one girl that they said, "Watch out for her. She'll be really, not nice."
Yeah.
Mr., sir, totally everything. "Can I sew?" Letting her sew. I leave. The principal goes, "What did you do?" I said, "I gave him self-worth.
Right.
I gave them self-worth. I gave them something that made them feel good about themselves."
Yeah.
That's all I did.
So important.
I gave them something to feel good about themselves. I'm telling you, I got pictures. This girl is sewing, biggest smile on her face.
Yeah.
I said, but the problem is, that was one day.
Right.
How do you keep that going?
Yeah.
Yep.
Because if you're going to bring back the trades, you got to be able to not just go in there and, I don't know, pacify or whatever that word is, just in the moment.
Right.
You got to keep that moment going. And
Yeah.
it's a tough job. But
Yeah.
we gave them self-worth.
Right.
Yeah.
Made them feel good about themselves.
And
that-
hopefully that spark of interest and
Yeah.
awareness of options that are out there for them.
Yeah.
Let's dig into that a little
Yep.
bit. Do you feel like in what ways do you think we should expose kids to this stuff at school? Do you like?
I'm going to say my thing real quick and then you can judge.
Yeah.
I believe, and I talk to a lot of teachers.
Yeah.
I won't mention names. I always ask them, do you know by 6th grade if the kid's going into the trades or he's going to college? And most of them will say, 90% of the kids, I already know that.
Yeah.
She goes, I can do it. So it's like, I don't know, you're never going to change the school system, but my idea would be, and I know they got to graduate up to 12th grade, but it's like, instead of give them a path immediately to college,
Right.
figure out where they got to go
Yeah.
and just start putting them into the trade they're in high school. They
Right.
need the math. Believe me, they need the math because I
Yeah.
didn't do well. And that's another thing we'll talk about after that
Yeah.
because of my business. But you can't focus the whole thing on just college.
Right.
We're not taking away from college whatsoever because I have one son. He came to me. He's like, Dad, I don't want your business.
Right.
I want to go to college. And I said, as long as you have a path, that's fine. So we're not against that, but
Right.
we need 2 different paths.
Yeah.
We can't waste time and just say one shoe fits all.
You mentioned you liked New Hampshire because of the education system. Has your opinion of that changed at all? Like, you're a mom, you're thinking of, how to get my kids excited about their future and expose them to different interests. Moving here and then learning about this work with Bring Back the Trades, like, if you could comment on your experience as a parent and someone who knows about the school systems.
So actually, I do like that the Seacoast School of Technology is right here. So my kids go to Exeter. One went to Exeter, has graduated. But I don't like that they don't give you as much for credits for it, from what I've heard, and it doesn't quite work with their schedules all the time, so they can't really explore very easily. When I went to school for middle school in the city, they had a lot more options for trades exposure. And I remember, I think it was like 6th or 7th grade, my social studies teacher putting a thing up on the blackboard that said, this is how much money you make if you go out and become an electrician or a plumber, and this is how long it takes you to get there, or if you want to be a lawyer, because, not everybody's going to be a lawyer,
Right.
or a doctor, and we need those.
Yeah.
But we also need the tradespeople,
Yeah.
and you can have a path to that revenue a lot faster and hopefully without as much debt if
Right.
that's something that appeals to you.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be you have to go to college.
Yeah.
And I actually just thought of another thing. If you want to bring the respect back, okay, they always say, changing how people feel about other people starts at a young age. So if you want the kids to respect other people,
Right.
you teach them young.
Yep.
So if you want to change the perspective of the trades so that people respect the people of the trades, if you put a kid into a trade and teach them young, they'll be like, wow, this is hard.
Yes.
Then
Very true.
if the kids are never around the trades, they just like people come into my shop all the time. Oh, I've done a convertible top. I've YouTubed it.
Right.
Okay, whatever. But
Yeah. All right.
if you teach kids trades young ages, even if they're not going to do it, they'll respect that person that comes to their house now because they'll remember, wow, that was hard.
Yes.
So if you're going to change it back, teach the kids young, even if they're not going to go into it, they'll learn to respect it.
It's true. Do you remember the movie The Breakfast Club?
Yeah.
Okay.
I never saw it.
Okay, so there's the nerdy kid who's like super nerdy,
okay.
Yeah.
all straight A's,
Right.
and he's super upset because he's failing shop. And he's like, well, that's supposed to be for the dumb kids. The dumb
Right.
kids are, how am I failing shop? So it just
Yeah.
kind of puts that,
Oh, yeah.
stigma right into reality there in
Yeah.
terms of like what the perception is. And
Yep.
it's like, well, that's not true because you could be quote unquote smart and not be able
Yeah.
to do the shop.
Well, there
Right.
was a 2.5 Men episode, and I taped it because I was going to put it on social media, but I never did. But
Yeah.
it's where Jake, the kid that just never can learn, he's stupid.
Yeah.
And Charlie Sheen goes, don't worry about it. He's just going to end up in the trades, so don't worry about him. To put him down.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm like, there it is. And
Yeah.
we talk about, Mike Rowe talks about the plumbers known as the butt crack.
Right.
That's what he talks about. It's just,
Yeah.
it's the guy with the pants that are falling down.
Yeah.
And that's what we've done for years, is change the perspective of a tradesperson. So
Right.
it's going to take a long time to turn it around, but you got to do it slowly.
Yeah.
And another thing that I really like that you've said to parents when they ask you, what can you do after their child has gotten into the trades?
Yes. So I have one, how I determine my success is by things that have happened to me. So I live in this town.
Right.
It used to be pilots and, doctors. Now it's financial. It's very wealthy.
Yeah.
And we need all that, not against that, but there's been some parents that have come to me that, were 4th, 5th generation Ivy League colleges,
Yeah.
all the way down the line. And this one mother came to me and she says, my youngest one, I don't think he's college bound. I've been watching you for a while. Can you come down and sit with us?
Yeah.
So I went down and I actually coached baseball with the father. And I'm like, what does he want to do? Oh, we have Barnes. He's always out there. And, he's actually taking welding at Portsmouth High School. I said, well, then does he like it? She goes, oh, he really loves it. I said, well, have him go to Lincoln Tech.
Yeah.
So a year later, she texted me back. She's like, he graduated. He's making up like $150,000 a year, whatever the number is.
Yeah, right.
What can I do for you? I said, and she plays tennis. I said, when you're playing tennis, and I was being funny, in your
Yeah.
little outfit, right?
With your friends.
With your friends,
Yeah.
talk about him.
Right.
Because if you want to change it, now that if you talk about your son graduating and making good money in the trades
Right.
to other people, well, okay, maybe I can do it because she did it.
Yeah.
That's all it is
Right.
making it okay. And it's awful to say making it okay, but
Right.
that's
It's
what it is.
changing the perception.
It
I
is.
remember, a friend, when she found out that I was working with Bring Back the Trades, she was so excited to tell me about her son in the HVAC. And you could just tell
Yes.
by how she was talking about it that she didn't get to do that often. And she's
Yeah.
like, he uses math and he's so excited.
They're
and
embarrassed. And it's awful to say, but they're embarrassed.
that's
Right.
horrible.
It
yeah.
is.
Wow.
And they're the ones that are making all the money.
Yeah, right.
I mean, my son went to school, but we paid for it.
Yeah.
If we didn't pay for it,
Right.
phew,
Yeah, forget it.
yeah,
Man.
Yeah.
Well, it says I hope every young person listens to this.
Yeah.
Listens to this episode.
yeah. And like you said,
Is it-
I want to say it a million times. We're not against college whatsoever. Like she said, there's so many trades. I mean, so many different educational programs, lawyers, doctors. We need all those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You two are right, I think, to bring up, culture,
Yeah.
right? And and the perception of the trades is like all that, like the issue that we're having now and will continue to have, hopefully eventually not because of the work you're doing, but in the labor force, right, is downstream from the butt crack. Like it really
It
is,
is.
of like people on TV, they denigrate people in the trades and say, it's stupid. It's like, well, those jobs are so in need now.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're hard work, but
Yep.
like they're satisfying and people have
Yep.
great lives doing them.
And before we forget, too, you don't have to work the trade forever.
Yeah.
Everybody works the ladder.
Right.
So you come in, you do like me. I did the crap. I went up. Now my own business owner.
Right.
So you can come in at a union or whatever and work the corporate ladder, and now you're at the top.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
leading a team of technicians or apprentices
Yeah.
or whatever, and then managing. And or they can continue doing because they just don't want to deal with all of that.
Right.
Yeah.
They have a skilled trade that they can do, and they can. Some of them, might take a couple business classes, go out on their own.
Right.
We would recommend that. I think
Yep.
we've had that conversation before.
That was like I just was nominated for an award, and the number one question is what was
NHBR's 200
Oh, yeah,
list.
the
He's
200.
on it.
Congrats.
Nominee.
Thank you.
I'm going to try and talk to all those people.
Yeah. So what was the question? What would
It
you,
was what was it? What, no, it wasn't what keeps you up at night. It was
what would you
change?
do?
Or
Yeah,
advice.
what-
It was advice.
So my advice is, not knowing math or anything when I started my own business, I didn't take a business class.
Yeah.
And I would tell any kid, if you could be really good at your job, but there's a difference between doing the job and billing the job, and
Right.
getting paid for it.
Yeah.
So, I would definitely recommend, if I could do it over, taking a business class for sure, without
Yeah.
a doubt. Unless you're just smart,
Right.
which I wasn't. And not let the personal side of it, it's a business.
Right.
Because all your friends come to you when you
Oh,
start a
yeah.
business.
Right. And it's, but you can upholster my car.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right?
And there's a
Just like
value
that.
to the work that you do, right? So I think people be like, oh, I have to pay $200 for this plumber to come.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you're not paying for you're paying for an hour of service, yes, but what you're really paying for is the years of experience this person has, so they can do it in an hour, and you don't have to sit there on YouTube and try to do it for 8 hours just to call them anyway.
Yeah.
Well, it's like every year when the pipes freeze, your plumber, everybody's all over social media. Oh, Joe's Plumbing. Oh my God, they saved us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, in June when they get their bill for it's just something, it's why were you so expensive? Well, that's what it is.
Yeah. Would you rather? It's like, well, how much do you value having a working septic system?
Exactly.
Right.
It's almost priceless when you think about it.
Exactly.
When it comes down to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up like the economics of it. I mean, I'm sure there for like enterprising young people, or even like not super enterprising, like there must be a huge opportunity here, like generationally, like for the older folks who are kind of at the tail end of their careers. They own a practice, and if they don't have a succession plan in place, right, to hand off the brand and business they built, like I don't know, it's one of those, like there's a real generational like wealth transfer that could be happening here if we just got more young people interested and excited about it, and to be, hey, if you're enterprising and you want to go and like learn this hard thing, like you can do it and you can be very successful at it.
Well, it's funny you say that wealth transfer. What was the word you used?
Yeah, generational wealth transfer. Yeah.
I mean, that's not happening anymore, because I have a friend of mine that owned Reflections Auto Body. Actually, I just saw it on the news. I think it caught a fire. But anyways, he had 5 employees, multi-million-dollar company. Tried to sell it for 3 years.
Wow.
Nobody bought it.
Wow.
I'm trying to get out of mine.
Yeah.
I got a girl that I'm training, but whether or not. But when I started mine in '89, you could easily sell a business like that.
Yeah.
People would be like chomping at the bit.
Right.
But not now, because nobody's coming into the trades. So now, when I first started, my goal was to start a company and sell it. Part of your retirement. I mean, I have a clientele that's unbelievable.
Right.
The door shuts, no money. It's not good.
Yeah.
Plus, where do people go?
Yeah.
So it's another problem there, because now the business owners can't sell their property and their businesses for money.
Yeah.
So there's another issue.
Wow.
It's because people don't have the expertise. If somebody had the expertise that you have,
right,
they would be all over buying your business.
Yeah.
Well, I talk often on this show, or rather I listen to people talk. I hope I don't talk too much. But, there's this theme, right? And what I always try and hope people get away from this show and things like, Granite Goodness, is that like the world is not a zero-sum place, right? And, particularly if you're talking about, money and wealth, like, there's a whole, people are always talking about, income inequality and wealth inequality and all these different things. But like at the end of the day, it's not zero sum. Like your life doesn't have to get worse for mine to get better, right? And vice versa. And, if you want to talk about, the skills that you have, the knowledge that you have, that you've built up with your trade into this like great brand with great clients, like that's, you're literally, people say, how does wealth get made? Where does it come from? It's like, I learned how to, this thing I learned how to do for, 50 years. And I can take, any upholstery job and do a fantastic world-class job at it, right? And it's like, that's where it comes from, baby. Turning ugly things into beautiful things, functional things. Like that's the secret sauce that makes like business and the economy go around, right? And like, and there's a real opportunity for more of it.
Yep.
That's my view.
But we got to talk about our scholarships.
Yeah, tell me.
Oh, yes.
All right. So go.
So
go
I was just thinking, of course, my brain's thinking. So how, it's funny how the whole thing started, but how the scholarship thing actually really took off was, I remember Ben's Auto Body gave me $500, and I said, I'm going to give out so I gave out a scholarship, and I went on Facebook one night. It was snowing out. My wife was somewhere, and I picked the winner, and I put it on Facebook that they just given out $500, and I raised $3,000 in like an hour after that.
Wow.
I'm like, okay, I've got something here, because I showed where the money was going. I showed a face, and it happened to be a girl. She was a diesel mechanic up in Colebrook, New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Up in your area.
Yeah.
And, people just loved it. And I'm like, okay, I think I have something here.
Right.
Because people love stories.
Yeah.
They love success stories.
Yeah.
And they love to see their trade as a success story.
Right.
So I'll let you talk about the scholarships.
Sure. So we've given out over 100,000 in scholarships so far this year.
That's a lot of money.
Biggest year by far.
Mm-hmm.
Excited to continue.
Congrats on that. That's huge.
Yeah, it was exciting. And we're starting to circle back on the previous scholarship winners so we can find out where are they now? Are they in the same trade, different trade, something different entirely? Because like Steve said, those stories are so important. Yeah. So we're excited about that too. And the new website will show nice features of the scholarship winners as well, and show people where their money's going.
And they go to bringbackthetrades.org.
Or bbtt.org if you want the short one now.
And that's funny, how when you say that. So BBTT is our / right?
Yeah.
So I'm on Facebook, and a couple of my friends kept writing BBTT. I'm like, what is BBTT? Seriously.
Yeah, what is
So
it?
I said, Donna Marcotte, she's a friend of mine. I'm like, Donna, what is BBTT? She's like, are you an idiot? I said, what? Bring back the trades. I'm like, oh, I get it now.
It's like, it's you. You told me about it. Man.
So you can go on there. And we also have, I was writing, because you write an essay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Steve, you're an idiot. You didn't like writing. Why would you make them write an essay? So there's a video that you can do a video too.
That's cool.
Yeah, to make it more easier.
Yeah. I love that.
And they're available to any age. We actually just picked one the month before that was, I think, in 30. He was in his 30s. So we do try.
Listening, Jesse? That's my wife.
Yeah. So we do try and choose, the best story. The person's maybe not going to go because financially, but we do have right now. We have a lot of people that are in a different trade, in a different field.
Right.
That are like, you know what? I heard about these trades things. I'm going to go back to that. So like your wife. Yeah. So we're giving out one a month.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I see. I came in here. You've got one of those big giant checks.
Well, we had to because, like I said, we gave out 43 or 42.
I think it was 43.
43. Yeah.
Checks.
There's nothing like a big check.
Yeah, they're great for the photos. I know we're running a little short on time, but I also wanted to just make sure that we tease a little bit. We've got some events coming up next year.
Yeah, by all means. I know.
Yeah, we're really excited about. We had
an hour.
Yeah, we've got the sponsorship opportunities, a little bit of information on our website, and then they can reach out. We do custom stuff. We do have a big sponsor that we're talking with. We don't have the agreement quite signed, but we're super excited about that. To be going down to Mass and maybe one big stadium next year that we might be able to talk about soon. Right. So, excited.
Excellent. Well, the final question I always like to, I could talk to you forever, but I did say an hour. We've been talking for an hour. But, we're going to have you back on, obviously, because you're doing so much great work. But tell me what makes both of you optimistic about the future of your work.
I'll take it. Just the support. I mean, it is unbelievable. I get text, I get instant messages with kids because we have a full line of apparel that we have.
Yeah.
I mean, I get text every day, thank you very much from all across the country. So I just know that it's definitely going to work.
Yeah.
And I don't give up.
Yeah, that's a good reason.
Tenacity is important. So I think the momentum is really there off of the most recent success on the recent event. That's huge. And then we were up at the Business and Industry Association panel. He was on the panel just talking about the workforce, housing, and just people really starting to see like the trades are a viable, lucrative option for people. And it's important that we keep that in mind. And we're going to be working with UNA on doing some data analysis to start looking at the gap in what's going to be available for trade jobs and what are going to actually be there if we don't do something now to start getting this next generation trained.
Yeah.
So we're really excited about that. And FW Web has come on board to sponsor us in getting some of that research information out there. So we're really excited about that. And everything's looking great. We have so much support.
You're bringing it back.
Makes my day job not fun anymore.
That's right. Man. All right. Well, thank you both so much. I'd love to have you back on the show at some point to cover everything new and great that's going on at Big Back the Trades. But thank you for coming on.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much for doing this. This is wonderful.
Hey there, thanks for spending some time with us, and I hope you enjoyed the conversation. You can learn more about today's guest and how to get involved with or support their work in the show notes. If you'd like to suggest a guest for the show or have any story tips for our Good News in New Hampshire newsletter, shoot me a message at hello@granitegoodness.com. Music for this episode was provided by the band Sneaky Miles, who hail from Newmarket, New Hampshire. Until next time, I'm the creator and host of Granite Goodness, Andy DeMeo. Thanks for listening.